Hello everyone, I'm going to make a very short video. I have one that's half an hour long, but it won't attach. So I'm going to be very quick and bring you through the alphabet, okay? So first things first, you need your jotter, your shorthand jotter, just a journalist notebook or a shorthand notebook like this one. The reason is that you can hold it in one hand while you write with the other hand. Now, you should line your page with a margin on the left-hand side, or the right if you prefer. Some people also like to split the page down the middle with a line, so that they're writing short lines constantly and then moving over to the top right. But personally, I prefer just to write right across the page, but it's up to you. The reason we do the margin is that if you have a word that's unusual, for example, here's a French surname pronounced Florent, so the D is silent, and I just happen to know people with this name, so I picked it as an example. So you might write FLRN, but then when you're going to type back, you might think, oh, I don't know how to spell that. Or so before you leave the event, you'll ask the spelling and you write it down in your margin. So basically that's why you have a margin. Also date your page at the bottom. If you date it at the top and you're looking for the notes for a particular event, then you've got to open up every single page and look at the top to find the relevant heading or date. Whereas if your date is at the bottom, it's much easier. Finally, you can use paper clips or a rubber band just to separate the pages so that each event is paper clipped separately, or just put a rubber band around the pages to separate out whatever pages you've used. Oh yes, and the other thing is you'll write on one side of the page, flip it over and then write on the same side of the next page. You don't turn the book around and write on the back of the page that you've written on, because that takes time. You just keep flicking and moving forward, flicking and moving forward, and then you write from the back of the notebook to the front. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the alphabet quickly because I have to keep the video small so that it will upload for me. If you have the textbook, we're going to page 1. If you don't, then here's the ISBN that you need. And this is the title of the book. Okay, so on page 1 we have the alphabet, and today we're doing A to M. So my plan is to make this video available until probably Wednesday, because then we'll be moving on to the rest of the alphabet. So on page 1 here you'll see we start with A and we're going up as far as M on page 2. Now I'm going to go quickly, as I said. My advice is that you get a pencil, and that with your pencil you write over the outline a few times to get the feel for the shape and size of the outline. Now, in your notebook, what you will do is you'll have a margin like this, and then in your margin, you're going to write the first letter, so it'll be A. Now, over here, then, you're going to write the outline. So, full A is like so. You're not, that's actually a little bit big. I'm looking at the screen instead of the page, so I'll try it here. Okay, so full A. Now, notice that I'm not lifting my pen and that I'm being quite precise. And what you do is you will copy the outline onto the line. So you have the long hand here in the margin, and then you have the shorthand, and you will copy that and you will say it as you write it. A. I mean, obviously you don't have to say it out loud, but you will say it. And what you're doing there is you're getting your kinesthetic memory trained. So if I said to you, write your name, you could write it in a blink. You wouldn't even have to look at the page as you write it. You've written it thousands of times in your lifetime, so you could probably do it in your sleep. It's lodged in a part of your memory that doesn't require sort of intellectual processing. You don't have to think, well, the first letter is R and the second letter is O, and this is how you make R and that's how you make O. You know it without even thinking about it. So that's where we want to get you with shorthand. So you will drill. Now, drill is the word that we use for practicing, because you do have to drill again and again and again and again, about 50, 60 times. At this point, some of you are probably saying that's nonsense, because, you know, a child could do that. You know, a child in P2 or, you know, senior infants could write that, and they could. But the problem is they might forget it tomorrow, and by the time we come back in a couple of days' time to do the second half of the alphabet, excuse me, if I said to you, write A, write G, write F, write L, write M, you might think, oh, hang on, slow it, wait, what is it, how do we make it? And you're having to think about it. Whereas if you've drilled it 50 or 60 times, your mind is much more likely to have remembered it, okay? Now, the second thing is, and again, you can pause this at any stage. I'm going quickly because I want the video to be short. every vowel has full forms and indicator forms. Now these are not the same as capital and small, okay? In longhand we have a capital A, we have a small a. In shorthand we have a full A and we have an indicator A, but that's not the same as a small letter, okay? It's simply different ways to write the same letter. So the full form, vowels all have a full form and a short form. So let us start with A. I recommend that, and in line margin on my page. So I recommend that you start by drilling full A first, and you do that 50 or 60 times. Full A, full A. Go fairly slowly, because if you go too quickly, this is what's going to happen. The outline will get too big, it'll get sloppy, you'll have a wee curl on the end. You need to drill it correctly. Now, if you can do that this week between today, which is Monday the 22nd of November, and Friday, which is the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the 26th of November, then if you can get the alphabet before the weekend and know it pretty well, you will find the rest of the year easy. If you don't do that this week, you're going to be lost, and you might as well just don't give up, but you really need to do that this week. Doesn't matter if you're going to have to get married or you're getting the Nobel Prize for Peace. Make room for your shorthand this week, because you really, really need to do it. If you have something going on, you really know you're not going to get it this week, talk to me and I'll help you to work out how to work around that, okay? Nothing's impossible, but we do need to work on it. Okay, so indicator A is simply this part of the A or this part of the A. So it goes up that way or it goes down this way, and you can practice those together. Indicator A, indicator A, indicator A, indicator A, indicator A, indicator A. And you need to do that about 50 or 60 times. Now, I'll explain later why we have different forms when we come to writing longer, writing words. B is like a 6. So it's basically the form of a longhand B, but it's streamlined. So start just below the line and go around in a curve and finish like that. Don't overlap. If you do, that's BI, or it's actually longer than an I. And be careful you don't do like a small circle, because that looks like LS. So you need to keep the form and the size correct. And again, you do that 50 or 60 times. C then is like a circle with a bit missing. Okay, if you do that, it's CM blend, and that's wrong. If you do it like that, it looks like an L. So again, you need to keep the size and the shape. D, for some reason, is just a line on the line. Now, don't stress. Don't think, oh, it has to be exactly on the line. It doesn't. It can be, a little bit above it, but if it's too far up, you'll think, is that a D or a T? Because T goes up there, and if you write something up there, you're not going to know what it is. So it needs to be pretty much just hovering over the line like that. Don't make it too long, because that's D, R blend. Again, go to the book, work out the size, and take it from there. And finally, E. Full E is like this part of your E, so it's the corner, the bottom left corner, and both parts are the same size, and it's that sort of size between the two lines and that shape. And again, you'll go into full E, full E, full E, full E, and just keep doing it. Indicator E is this one. It's this part here on its own, so it's just that. Never ever go over an outline. Don't sort of do that and then go over it again. That's wasting time. In shorthand, you want to write it once. You do not go back over it again. You just do it and leave it, okay? Now, in the book, it will give you this as another form of indicator E. Forget about it. It'll confuse you with D. All you have to do later is blend the full E with a straight line. I'll explain that later. Just forget about the horizontal one, okay? I'm going to stop the video and do another one for the next few letters.